Hey, if you're writing SOAP notes after every physio session, you're losing about 20 to 30 minutes per patient. That's 10 plus hours per week for a busy practice. What if I told you that could become 60 seconds? This is Claude. It's free to use. And in the next 60 seconds, I'm going to show you how to turn messy, handwritten session notes into perfectly formatted SOAP notes that tick every AHPRA box. This is probably what your notes look like after a session. They're rough, informal, and missing structure. No Medicare compliance, no AHPRA documentation. Now I'm going to use a free SOAP prompt that you can get in the link below. And this is going to help format your unstructured notes. This prompt tells Claude exactly what a compliant SOAP note looks like. The structure, the depth, and the compliant requirements. As you can see here, it starts off by defining the role. You're a clinical documentation assistant for Australian physiotherapists. Convert the session notes above into a structured follow-up SOAP note. And it's going into the structure, what SOAP actually means. It starts to break down each of the different factors of it. So it has subjective, objective, assessment, plan, compliance. And it even says down the bottom here to make sure that you're using Australian English spelling throughout. Now, if I click enter, you can see the Claude's going to start working pretty hard to turning these unstructured notes into something that's more compliant and ready for our documentation. Alrighty, so it looks like Claude is done here. So you can see what the notes were before, right? So we have session 2, James Cooper, lower back pain, been having issues for about 3 weeks after lifting something at work. And it goes into a bit of detail here about 5 out of 10 pain, was 7 last time. So it looks like it's getting better, about 20 minutes and a few other details as well here. So this is what we gave Claude. And if we scroll down to the output, we can see that it has provided a lot more structure and detail. This is something that we can copy and paste directly into Clinico if we want to, document these session notes against the patient. So if you just read through this quickly, it talks about the chief complaint, the history, and the patient goals. So everything's there. But you can see here, subjective, patient reports improvement since the previous session. It's provided a rating, talks about the initial presentation was 1 week ago, and it goes into more detail for the objective. It talks about the range of motion, neurological findings. It talks about the treatment that was provided, and it breaks that out into a table just so it's easy for us to read through and consume. For the assessment, it covers our clinical reasoning. What did we find and why it matters? And this is where you can show AHPRA your thinking as a physiotherapist. And then finally, with the plan, it shows the treatment that was provided and also a rationale for that treatment. And also covers next steps and frequency of treatment. It talks about some other things at the bottom here around patient education. So see what just happened here. What would normally take about 25 minutes, we're able to do in about 60 seconds. You can see the level of quality that Claude has provided here. This is extensive notes that would take quite a long time for someone to manually type up. All we've provided it was some rough notes that we took during or after the session, and we're able to pop it into Claude, and Claude was able to take those rough notes and turn them into something that's quite comprehensive, something that we could quite easily put into Clinico. And this is going to be tracked against the patient. Every single time they come in, we'll be able to refer back to these notes and to make sure that we have a comprehensive review. But let me show you why this matters beyond speed. Every physio practice gets audited, Medicare spot checks, AHPRA reviews, and they're looking for 3 things. Are you documenting what you did? Are you showing clinical reasoning? And are you doing it consistently? Most physios I talk to are doing all 3, but they're doing it manually, which means that inconsistencies can creep in. Sometimes the objective session is light. Sometimes there's no clear assessment, and that becomes an audit risk. When Claude builds your notes from this prompt, the structure is always there, the depth is always there, and every single note hits the same standard. Now I know what you're thinking. Can I just use this forever? And the answer is yes. The free prompt works. The $19 skill that I'll talk about in a minute does the same thing, but it integrates more deeply into your workflow, so you don't have to copy and paste every single time. But first, let me show you the real power here. This is a patient with a complex history. They have old physio notes scattered across different clinics. The patient comes in and you have about 10 minutes to get up to speed. I'm going to scroll down and paste this other prompt in. This is different to the one we used before. And what it's saying here is that based on the case history above, give me a concise patient summary I can review before the patient walks in. So you can see here, we're breaking down all of this complex history into something that we can more easily consume and something that's going to provide us with a lot more of a concise view. Alrighty, so that took about 30 seconds. So we see what we have. So we've got pre-appointment summary, David Chen, 58. We've got a key clinical picture. So it provides us with an overview. We've got surgical treatment and history. So you can see it provides a chronological breakdown of the treatment history of the patient. Current functional status and main limitations. Looks like we have medications that are relevant to the physio management. We've got some red and yellow flags. And then we have previous treatment response, and then suggested priorities for today's initial assessment. So in 30 seconds, we're able to take a complex, scattered patient history, convert that into something that we can more easily consume, something that's synthesized, something that's going to really help us a very quick period of time, less than a minute, to help us get up to speed. Something that would normally take, I'd assume, a lot longer, maybe 10, 15 minutes to really read through and digest and understand the previous information. But this is something that can obviously be done a lot quicker and something that's going to benefit you and the patient, enabling you to focus on building that rapport and getting straight into the appointment and starting it off strong. Instead of converting handwritten notes into session notes, I'm asking Claude to give us a quick patient summary. So very similar prompts, but very different output. And in about 30 to 40 seconds, you have a solid clinical picture of the patient before they walk in. That's one of the cool things about what this prompt does. It's not just about writing faster, it's also about thinking faster and having a consistent framework for every single interaction. So all you need to do is come to this web address here, scroll down and find this clinical scribe, Physiotherapist free, click into it, put 0 here, add to cart, and it will ask for your email. And then once you put your email in, you'll be able to get the package and you'll be able to download it. And you can see here, I've provided some instructions for how you can actually install this. So pretty simple to download, and you'll be able to use that straight away to write all of your SOAP notes moving forward. If you're like every physio that I've worked with, you'll probably realize 2 things. Number 1 is you'll want to use this for every note type, not just SOAP. Treatment plans, discharge summaries, referral letters. That's where you can find more of these skills on this link over here. You can see that we have a bunch of different skills here, one for NDIS report writer, another one for patient letter writer, another one for referral letters, and then we have a few other for SOAP, blog posts, a number of different things that you can use to help streamline your documentation. But that's for another video. I'll show you how all of these skills work in the future. So please subscribe below and you'll be able to see how the rest of these skills work. But for now, I definitely recommend going with this free clinical scribe prompt. Like I said, simply paste in your session notes and you get formatted SOAP notes in seconds. There's a link in the description, so give it a try. Love to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.